The RetroStation is one of those many ways you can actually play. But with this brand, the RetroStation, there is something else I wanted to chit chat about, and that is actually the RetroStation PC Pro Edition. Why is that? So let's chit chat about it, why this is. So we're mainly focused on the RetroStation, but actually this thing, oh man, it weighs a ton by the way. This is actually just a mini PC, and not your, let's say, cheap mini PC. This is actually an i5 11th generation. What can we actually do with it? I just want to do an in-depth video about it, because we can do some pretty damn cool things with it, also with emulation, but let's also check the gaming part. I already mentioned that the system is quite heavy, so let's get my scale and let's give it like a check up, like how heavy it is. But let's take a close look at all the ports at the back. We're going to get 4 USB ports, 3.0, then we have like an RJ45 connection, an input for the power supply, 2 HDMI outputs, and of course we have all the connectivity that we're going to need, especially when you're looking at the 4 ports. I'm very happy with this, because we're going to need a couple of, let's say, extra ports, because this time we're going to use Windows for emulation. At the front we're going to get ourselves the on-OS switch. It's quite convenient. At the front we're going to get a Type-C connection for charging. Then we have like 2 normal USB ports for the controllers. And then we have like 2 jack connections, one for the microphone and the other one for the headphone. So at the side we do get ourselves the ventilation at the left and at the right. Well, let's take a close look at the weight itself. In total we're going to have on 741 grams when it comes to the weight. Alright guys, so let's take a close look at the CPU Z. It's time for some wicked nerdy time with some specifications. The Intel Core i5, the 1135 G7. So that's a mouthful. Next we're having the Max TDP 28 watts. And let's take a close look at the mainboard. Just says default string, no idea why. So it's just no brand, or it doesn't really recognize what kind of manufacturer it is. Memory, DDR4, 16 GB. The unfortunate thing is that only having one slot available. DDR4, 2666, or in other words, it's running on 1333 MHz. The graphic, we're having the Intel Iris Xe graphics. So let's push this thing, let's see what can we actually do with Windows Gaming. And let's go on. CPU Z, by the way, a very handy tool. Okay, so next up, let's do a quick test bench. I wanted to see how far we can push it, but also how are the temperatures. So it's going to be minimum of 46 Celsius, all the way up to 65 max, and now being idle around 55. So that's actually the temperature of the device. So the SSD that is inside this machine is going to be around 40 Celsius. And that's actually what it is when it comes to the overall specs and all the things going on when it comes to the temperatures itself. But looking at the score, it's not super accurate when it comes to Cinebench, but gives you like a great general idea. So basically the next CPU is going to be the 4th generation i7, also known as the 4850 HQ. Coming close to the center, so this actually the differences between, let's say, the 2 CPUs. The overall score is of course not the best, because this is already an older chip. But let's start off with some indie games. One of my favorite ones to play is Broforce. And you would be surprised how demanding this game actually is. I've been testing this on, let's say, older CPU, GPUs combinations. And also with some older graphic cards. And it's quite demanding if you're going to put it on full specifications, everything on, in combination with 1080p. Okay, so next up, let's take a close look at some Super Street Fighter 4. I just wanted to test bench to see how this actually runs, how good or how bad. So the system has been set to the maximum settings, so I'm really curious how this will actually run.
It might feel all that exists. Show me everything you have to offer.
With an older mini PC like this, in combination with the Intel Iris onboard GPU, when you're going to be pushing it into, let's say, three-dimensional games, there we're having so more, like say, problems. Where indie games run fine, where we even have some older two-dimensional games run fine, you will see that the three-dimensional games will have issues or don't really run well on full HD. And all the specifications have even been set to low. So where the settings of the graphical part have been set to low, the only thing we can actually do now is just putting the resolution lower than, let's say, it has been now with 1080p. And from that point on, we will see some overall better performance going on. But yeah, you can see like the GPU is maxed out 100%, but still fascinating to see that it can actually run the game. So this machine is absolutely great. When you're looking at older games, think about three-dimensional games like an Outrun can be played fine. There is no problem whatsoever on full resolution and having all of the settings set to the highest setting. It's absolutely fascinating to see how far we can push it with, let's say, onboard GPUs from Intel. They have becoming very good. Nevertheless, it is unfortunate that when it comes to, let's say, more demanding games, there the GPU will struggle big time. And that is something we have seen many times before. With newer generations of Intel chipset, the GPU also becomes way better and we're having better performance. But with this 11th generation of an Intel, this is just actually what we're going to get in the end. But okay, so let's take a close look in the inside and let's do a quick teardown. So teardown is going to be quite easy because you only need to remove the 4 screws over here and let's flip it to the side over here and just see what we're going to get. So over here we do have like a very easy way to replace the hard drive. This is the 2 terabyte that was basically promised on the box. And it is indeed here. Another thing is quite interesting, we still have like an extra slot for a special M2 SSD if you want to basically upgrade this. So there's another option. The only thing is like we're only using one like stick of RAM, and I understand like when you're only using one of it and one of the 2 slots, yeah, we do have like less performance. So it's kind of interesting that he chosen to put like one DIMM in here, 16 gigabytes. It's indeed the amount that was promised, but I think it was smarter to put 2 times 8 gigabytes in here to have like dual channel and better performance. So after using this thing for a couple of hours, you can feel there's a lot of heat coming from the main board. But what I really like about it is that you can also feel that the bottom plate is consuming a lot of the heat. Maybe it's kind of weird to say it like that, but the overall performance, but also the cooling is very nice. So let's close it back up. For the next part, we're going to use the explosion of fun of the RetroStation PC software actually that came with the device and showcase you a quick overview of some emulation. Where we do have limitations when it comes to, let's say, the Windows Gaming, we do have some overall good emulation performance. Okay, let's start off with MAME. Not a really demanding game. I just want to point out that games like Tekken are super demanding, but it is still required some reconfiguration because you see the game will boot up, it runs really slow and there is no audio whatsoever. And this is not like that the emulator and in combination with the hardware can't run it, it's simply like a reconfiguration that is needed with the emulator itself. Okay, so next up, let's try Killer Instinct. Great example, it's the same like the Tekken games, super demanding. But this game seems to be running just fine and is configured correctly. Oh, by the way, I really suck at this game. I have no idea what I'm doing here. But like Killer Instinct is a system that you can only run on a PC system like this. And Raspberry Pi 4 nowadays can also run it, but you need to overclock it like crazy. And with a PC, you don't need that. Cruising, yeah. Cruising the USA, yeah. Okay, so let's see how the game runs on the PC edition. It also is very important what kind of emulator is running on the back end. So this one is running on the Mupin, and it runs way better than all the other ones I've tried before. But we got some more juice. In combination with this, we can finally play some Cruising the USA. And when I'm trying to play this game with the same kind of emulator on a RetroStation 40K or a Super Console X, I'm always going to have issues with it. Because it does have not enough juice to run it. Woo. Woo. And the more the gaming games like N64 with GoldenEye, if you can configure it correctly, we can play the game. I think I just shot him in the balls. But still, it has a minor hiccup here and there. Say hello to my little friend. Oof. Next up, Nintendo GameCube will always be a very hard thing to emulate on a lower power device, because even if it's a PC, it's a basic low powered PC. But let's test out this game, because it's a more demanding game, like all the other ones. And most of the part it will run just fine. It runs on native resolution. If you want to upscale it, forget about it. And you can already see that it's having minor hiccups here and there. If you want to run this on higher resolution perfectly, without any lag whatsoever, you just need to have some more juice. Next up, let's try the Wii. And with the Wii, you can see that it struggles. I've played this game a couple of times before and I noticed a lot of hiccups. And in my opinion, it makes this game unplayable. Next up, Sega Dreamcast. And Sega Dreamcast, you can just play these things on a low-end system nowadays. Of course, if you're going to put it on a PC like this, we can have better resolutions, like full HD. Depending on what kind of CPU-GPU combination we're having, but we can just play Sega Dreamcast on the RetroStation PC perfectly without any issues. Next up, PlayStation 2. With a low-end system like this, some games will run just fine and some will be super slow. But sadly, this game is way too demanding, and that is what I mean with hit or miss. But here you can see that also Crash Bandicoot has some issues. It is slow Crash Bandicoot. A new way to play. Slow motion. Alright, so with PlayStation Portable I want to do the ultimate test, the God of War test. Just to see how this runs. And you can already see from the start of this game that it works very well. So they're selling this thing under a different name called RetroStation PC Pro, but you can actually build it yourself. Also in the teardown you can see that there is just a 2TB hard drive in this thing, and that contains a lot of files. But if you're going to be installing Steam, because this thing runs on Windows, you can just do so many cool more things with it. And this is more like a dual system with a lot of cool functionalities. Yeah, let me know in the comments what do you think of an older, like say i5, would you consider picking it up? Thank you all for watching, consider subscribing, hit that little bell, and it would be great to see you in the next video.